The operation to capture El Mencho was a display of significant military coordination and precision. It was led by the Mexican Army's Special Forces, a unit trained for high-risk missions against cartel leadership. They were not alone. The mission received crucial support from the Mexican Air Force, which provided aerial surveillance and transport, and the National Guard, which helped secure the perimeter. This multi-agency approach was essential to cornering a target as well protected as El Mencho. Furthermore, intelligence played a vital role. Information, partially provided by United States law enforcement agencies like the DEA, helped pinpoint El Mencho's location in a rural safe house outside of Tapalpa, a location he likely chose for its remoteness and difficult terrain. As dawn broke on February 22nd, elite soldiers descended on the compound. The raid was fast and decisive. The element of surprise was critical, but El Mencho's security team was well armed and prepared for a fight. A fierce firefight erupted almost immediately. The cartel members, tasked with protecting their leader at all costs, used heavy weaponry to repel the advancing military units. The exchange of fire was intense, turning the tranquil mountain landscape into a battleground. The military's superior training and equipment, however, gave them a distinct advantage. They systematically moved through the compound, neutralizing the resistance and closing in on their primary target, who was reportedly inside the main building. During the intense confrontation, several of El Mencho's bodyguards were killed. Official reports stated that 4 suspected CJNG members died at the scene, while 3 others were critically wounded. Among those injured was El Mencho himself. He sustained serious injuries during the firefight, which ultimately incapacitated him. Once the area was secured, military medical personnel provided initial treatment. The decision was quickly made to airlift him to a secure military hospital in Mexico City for more advanced medical attention and to begin the legal process. The capture of the notorious leader, even in a wounded state, was a tremendous success for the armed forces involved in the dangerous operation. Tragically, for the government's plans to prosecute him, El Mencho did not survive the journey. He died from his injuries while in custody, aboard the military helicopter that was transporting him to the capital. His death marked a sudden and definitive end to his reign. His body was transported under heavy security to Mexico City, where forensic experts would officially confirm his identity. The raid in Tapalpa was a textbook military operation, demonstrating a high level of capability. However, the death of the target meant that he would never face a judge for his crimes, and the intelligence he might have provided would be lost forever. The news of El Mencho's fall did not take long to reach his vast network of followers. The cartel's response was immediate, coordinated, and violent. Within hours of the raid in Tapalpa, the CJNG unleashed a wave of retaliatory attacks across several Mexican states. This was not a disorganized reaction, but a pre-planned strategy designed to sow chaos and demonstrate the cartel's enduring power, even without its leader. The most visible tactic was the use of narco-blockades. Cartel gunmen hijacked buses, trucks, and private cars, setting them on fire in the middle of major highways. These burning barricades were designed to paralyze transportation and impede the movement of law enforcement and military reinforcements. The impact of these actions was felt most acutely in Jalisco, the CJNG's home state. Major roads connecting Guadalajara to other cities like Puerto Vallarta and the state of Colima were completely blocked. But the chaos was not limited to one state. The cartel's reach was on full display, as similar blockades and acts of violence were reported in the neighboring states of Michoacán, Nayarit, and even as far as Tamaulipas. This widespread retaliation demonstrated the CJNG's logistical capacity and its deep presence across the country. The goal was clear: to create a state of siege, instill fear in the civilian population, and challenge the authority of the government that had dared to strike their leader. Daily life for millions of people was brought to a standstill. The blockades caused massive traffic jams, trapping travelers for hours. In major cities like Guadalajara, the state capital, authorities issued shelter-in-place advisories, urging citizens to stay home and avoid travel. Schools and universities suspended classes, and many businesses closed their doors out of fear for the safety of their employees and customers. The transportation sector was severely disrupted. Airlines temporarily cancelled flights to and from the international airports in Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta, two major hubs for business and tourism. The economic cost of the paralysis was immense, and the psychological impact on the public was even greater. The cartel's fury was a brutal reminder of its power and willingness to use violence against the general public to achieve its goals. By attacking infrastructure and disrupting civilian life, the CJNG sent a message that it could still inflict significant pain, with or without El Mencho at the helm. These actions were not just about revenge, they were a strategic show of force. The cartel needed to prove to its rivals and to the government that it was not defeated. The burning vehicles on the highways were symbols of defiance, a declaration that the war was far from over. The government was now faced with the dual challenge of confirming its victory and restoring order in the face of widespread chaos. In the hours following the operation and the eruption of retaliatory violence, the Mexican government moved to control the narrative and reassure a frightened public. The first official confirmation came from the Ministry of National Defense, or SEDENA. In a formal statement, SEDENA detailed the operation in Tapalpa, confirming that it had been a targeted mission against a high-value leader of a criminal organization. The ministry announced that Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera Cervantes had died from injuries sustained during the confrontation. The statement also confirmed the seizure of a significant arsenal of heavy weaponry from the compound and noted that several soldiers had been wounded during the intense firefight, highlighting the risks involved. President Claudia Sheinbaum addressed the nation shortly after. In her address, she praised the bravery and professionalism of the armed forces. She described the successful operation as a decisive and powerful blow to organized crime in Mexico. The president emphasized that this action was a testament to her government's commitment to restoring peace and security. She acknowledged the retaliatory violence spreading through several states and assured the public that her administration was coordinating closely with state governors and municipal authorities. The primary goal, she stated, was to restore order, clear the roadways, and ensure the safety of all citizens affected by the cartel's violent backlash. The government's response was carefully managed to project an image of strength and control. Security was visibly increased in major cities, especially in Jalisco and surrounding states. Convoys of military and National Guard vehicles were deployed to dismantle the narco blockades and patrol the highways. The message was clear: the state would not be intimidated by the cartel's tactics. President Sheinbaum's administration framed El Mencho's death not just as the end of a notorious criminal, but as a victory for the rule of law. It was an opportunity for the government to demonstrate its capacity to take on even the most powerful cartels and win. Behind the scenes, the government was also working to manage the diplomatic and international dimensions of the operation. United States agencies had provided intelligence support, and the death of the leader of a cartel responsible for flooding the United States with fentanyl was a significant development for both countries. The Mexican government's public statements focused on its own sovereign actions, while privately, communication with United States counterparts was likely ongoing. The official response was a delicate balance of celebrating a major security achievement, while also preparing the public and the security forces for the uncertain and potentially violent period that would inevitably follow the fall of such a dominant cartel leader. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was not born into the cartel elite. His story is one of a rise from humble beginnings to the pinnacle of the global criminal underworld. He was born in rural Michoacán, a state known for its agriculture and, increasingly, for its deep-rooted organized crime. Like many young men from the region, he saw limited opportunities and was drawn to the lure of quick money. In his youth, he illegally immigrated to the United States, where he had his first serious encounters with the law. He was arrested in California for drug-related offenses and eventually deported back to Mexico, This experience gave him his first taste of the narcotics trade. Upon his return to Mexico, El Mencho began his career in organized crime in earnest. He started as a low-level enforcer, working for the Milenio Cartel, which was then aligned with the powerful Sinaloa Cartel, under the leadership of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. During this time, El Mencho worked under Ignacio Nacho Coronel, a top Sinaloa Cartel lieutenant who controlled the lucrative methamphetamine trade in the Jalisco region. It was under Coronel's mentorship that Oseguera Cervantes learned the logistics of drug trafficking, the importance of controlling territory, and the brutal use of violence to eliminate rivals and enforce discipline. He proved to be a capable and ambitious subordinate. The turning point in El Mencho's career came in 2010. That year, Mexican security forces killed Nacho Coronel in a raid. Coronel's death created a power vacuum and shattered the existing alliances in the region. The Milenio Cartel splintered into factions, and a violent internal conflict erupted. El Mencho, seeing an opportunity, broke away with his own group of loyal followers. He named his new organization the Cartel de Jalisco New Generation, or CJNG. He presented his group as a force for order, even claiming to be fighting against other criminal groups like Los Zetas, but his true ambition was to seize control of Coronel's former empire for himself. From this chaotic beginning, El Mencho began to build his organization with ruthless efficiency. He eliminated his former partners and rivals from the Milenio Cartel, consolidating his power in Jalisco. He understood that controlling the strategic port of Manzanillo and the city of Guadalajara was key to dominating the drug trade. His leadership style was defined by extreme violence, military-like discipline, and a clear strategic vision. He expanded his operations aggressively, transforming the CJNG from a regional splinter group into one of the most powerful and feared transnational criminal organizations in the world, rivaling even the Sinaloa Cartel. His rise was a testament to his ambition and brutality. Under El Mencho's leadership, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel grew at an astonishing pace. Its expansion was fueled by a combination of extreme violence, strategic alliances, and a sophisticated business model. The CJNG quickly established itself as a dominant force not just in Mexico, but on the global stage. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, identified the CJNG as one of the two most powerful cartels in Mexico, alongside the Sinaloa Cartel. Its primary business was the trafficking of synthetic drugs. The cartel became a major producer and supplier of fentanyl and methamphetamine, two highly potent and profitable substances that caused a public health crisis in the United States and other countries. The cartel's power was built on its control of key trafficking routes and territories. The CJNG established a firm grip on the state of Jalisco, which gave it control over Guadalajara, Mexico's second-largest city, and the crucial Pacific port of Manzanillo in the state of Colima. This port became the cartel's gateway to the world. Through Manzanillo, the CJNG imported the precursor chemicals needed to manufacture synthetic drugs from Asia. It also used the port to export its finished products to markets in North America, Europe, and Australia. The cartel's logistical network was complex and efficient, allowing it to move vast quantities of narcotics across continents with relative ease. What set the CJNG apart from many of its rivals was its overt use of military tactics and propaganda. The cartel was known for its heavily armed convoys of gunmen, who often wore military-style uniforms and traveled in armored vehicles, marked with the letters CJNG. They frequently released videos online to showcase their firepower, which included machine guns, rocket launchers, and even armed drones. This was a deliberate strategy of intimidation. It was meant to terrorize rival cartels, scare local populations into submission, and challenge the authority of the Mexican state itself. The CJNG often behaved more like a paramilitary army than a traditional criminal gang. Beyond drug trafficking, El Mencho diversified the CJNG's criminal portfolio to maximize profits and strengthen its control. The cartel engaged in a wide range of other illicit activities. These included fuel theft, known as huachicoleo, where they would illegally tap into state-owned pipelines. They also ran extensive extortion rackets, demanding protection money from businesses of all sizes, from small taco stands to large agricultural enterprises. Other criminal ventures included kidnapping, human trafficking, and illegal mining. This diversification made the cartel incredibly wealthy and resilient, ensuring a steady flow of income even when its drug operations were disrupted. The rise of the CJNG was accompanied by an unprecedented level of violence. The cartel's reputation was built on its willingness to use brutal force against anyone who stood in its way, including rival criminals, government officials, and innocent civilians. El Mencho's philosophy was to control territory through fear. One of the CJNG's signature tactics was public displays of violence. They were known for leaving the bodies of their victims in public places, often with messages intended to terrorize communities and threaten their enemies. This brutal approach allowed the cartel to expand rapidly, as many smaller groups chose to surrender rather than face the CJNG's wrath. The cartel did not shy away from direct confrontations with the Mexican state. In fact, it became famous for its audacious attacks on police and military forces. One of the most notorious incidents occurred in 2015, when CJNG gunmen shot down a Mexican military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade, killing several soldiers. This was a shocking act of defiance that demonstrated the cartel's military-grade capabilities. The CJNG was also responsible for numerous assassinations of politicians, police chiefs, and judges who dared to oppose its operations. These attacks were meant to corrupt and intimidate the government from the local level all the way to the top. The CJNG's criminal activities had a devastating impact on ordinary people. Its extortion rackets crippled local economies, forcing many small business owners to close or flee. In regions under its control, the cartel dictated many aspects of daily life. It decided which crops farmers could grow and to whom they could sell their products. Its involvement in crimes like kidnapping and human trafficking spread fear throughout communities. Citizens lived under the constant threat of violence, caught in the crossfire between the cartel and security forces, or between the CJNG and its rivals. The social fabric of many towns and even entire regions was torn apart by the cartel's pervasive and violent presence. The cartel's primary business, the production and trafficking of synthetic drugs, created a public health crisis of enormous proportions. The CJNG became one of the world's leading suppliers of fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid that is many times more potent than heroin. The flood of illicit fentanyl into the United States has been responsible for tens of thousands of overdose deaths each year. The cartel's operations not only fueled addiction and death abroad but also contributed to rising drug use and violence within Mexico. El Mencho's criminal empire was built on a foundation of immense human suffering, both at home and across the globe. The death of a leader as dominant as El Mencho creates a significant and dangerous power vacuum. For over a decade, he was the undisputed commander of the CJNG, the central figure who held the sprawling organization together through a combination of fear, loyalty, and strategic vision. With him gone, the cartel faces an uncertain future. The most immediate risk is internal fragmentation. The CJNG is not a single, monolithic entity, but a network of different cells and commanders, many of whom are ambitious and have their own power bases. Without El Mencho to enforce discipline, these factions may begin to fight amongst themselves for control of the organization. A succession struggle is almost inevitable. Several potential successors have been named by security analysts, including some of El Mencho's family members and his most trusted lieutenants. However, it is unlikely that any single individual will be able to command the same level of authority and fear that El Mencho did. This could lead to a bloody internal war as different leaders vie for the top position. Such a conflict would not only weaken the CJNG from within, but could also lead to a surge in violence in the territories it controls. Civilians would likely be caught in the middle of these turf wars, leading to an increase in homicides and other violent crimes. The cartel's rivals will certainly see this as an opportunity. Other powerful criminal organizations, such as the Sinaloa cartel and its various factions, will likely try to take advantage of the CJNG's potential weakness. They may attempt to move into territories that were previously under CJNG control, leading to direct and violent confrontations between the cartels. This could trigger a new wave of inter-cartel warfare in strategic areas like border crossings, ports, and drug production zones. The result could be a period of heightened violence across Mexico, making the country even more dangerous than it was under El Mencho's reign. There is also the possibility that the CJNG could break apart into several smaller, independent cartels. This process of balkanization has been seen before in Mexico following the death or capture of other major kingpins. While these new splinter groups might be smaller and less powerful than the original CJNG, they could also be more erratic and violent. They might compete fiercely with one another for territory and revenue, leading to localized but intense conflicts. For security forces, this would present a new challenge. Instead of fighting one large enemy, they would have to confront multiple smaller, more unpredictable criminal groups. The end of El Mencho may not mean the end of the violence he created. The death of El Mencho is a significant tactical victory for the Mexican government, but it does not signal the end of the war on organized crime. The immediate future for Mexico is fraught with uncertainty and risk. In the short term, security analysts widely predict an increase in violence. The power struggle within the CJNG and the attempts by rival cartels to seize territory will likely lead to a bloody period of adjustment in the criminal underworld. The government's primary challenge will be to contain this violence and protect the civilian population from the fallout. This will require a sustained and intelligent deployment of security forces in the country's most volatile regions. Authorities are now on high alert. The military and National Guard will remain mobilized to prevent further retaliatory attacks from the CJNG and to respond to clashes between criminal groups. The government will be watching closely to see who emerges as the new leader or leaders of the CJNG. Identifying the new power structure will be crucial for future security operations. The situation is a delicate one. While the government has demonstrated its strength, it must now manage the chaotic aftermath. The focus will be on restoring order, securing key infrastructure, and preventing the criminal landscape from becoming even more fragmented and violent than before. For the people of Mexico, particularly in states like Jalisco and Michoacán, the future remains uncertain. They have lived under the shadow of the CJNG for years, and the death of its leader does not automatically translate to peace. Many fear that the violence could get worse before it gets better. They hope that the government can use this opportunity to permanently weaken the cartel and re-establish the rule of law. However, they are also realistic, having seen cycles of violence follow the removal of other kingpins in the past. Their hope for a lasting peace is tempered by the hard-earned experience of living in a country deeply affected by organized crime. In the long run, the fall of El Mencho could be a turning point, but only if it is followed by comprehensive and sustained security policies. Simply removing the leader of a cartel is not enough to dismantle the complex criminal enterprise he built. The government will need to attack the cartel's financial structures, disrupt its supply chains, and address the root causes of crime, such as poverty and corruption. The death of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes marks the end of a particularly brutal chapter in Mexico's history. Whether the next chapter will be one of greater peace or even greater violence remains to be seen. The entire nation is watching and waiting.